Hey, what's up, YouTube? You guys ready for Clown Shoe, the video? I got Mir and Sonic with me. I'm doing okay. There's a lot of people here. You guys are probably wondering what's going on. All right, we're talking about what we think Capcom's next fighting game is going to be, and obviously we're going to be talking mostly about Darkstalkers because I don't know what the title of the video is, but it's probably going to be Darkstalkers. It's going to be the main topic. Okay, so I'm going to start saying some crazy things to you guys, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy, and that's completely normal. And I'm not 100% sold on this. I just want it to be real, so real that I'm going to believe some of this. And there's been a lot of people bringing up these Darkstalker hints going down, and I'll catch you guys up on these hints. They're small, but a lot of it makes sense. And then we're going to talk about the idea of not only there being a Darkstalkers fighting game, but also what engine. That's what I'm interested in. What engine they're going to be using. We already know what kind of netcode they're going to use. It's going to be delayed based, but we'll talk about the game itself, right? Okay. So how am I going to start this off? Okay, well let's start off with the crazy rumors and stuff. So here we go. First off, guys, we know that Ono said in recent interviews that they're not doing Street Fighter 6 anytime soon. Now, of course, he could be trolling, he could be, full of himself. But they're saying that, they wait a while. We know that with Street Fighter 5, or when Street Fighter 4, it was always like a year or two after the console came out. And they kind of sit and chill, and then they release the fighting game. So that's hint number one. But we do know that the reigning champion for Capcom Cup and for Red Bull Kumite are not going to be the reigning champion for Street Fighter 5, which is a super crazy hint that there's going to be a new fighting game at Capcom Cup. And that the last time we had that was when Street Fighter 4 when Kazunoko won, and then we had the announcement of Street Fighter 5. So it's a huge hint that it could be Street Fighter 6, and it's very possible, but it's also possible that it's not. It's just a new fighting game, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So what other fighting game would Capcom be crazy enough to even venture and try to make an esport besides Street Fighter 5? I mean,
Marvel vs. Capcom.
Marvel's Capcom. Oh no, Amir! No. You're ruining the
Capcom versus SNK.
No, okay, guys. There's already MVC 2. That's as high as we go. Okay, you can. That's as close to the sun as we can get. Anything else is just no. Please never no more Marvel. Anyways, the only other games would be a Capcom All-Star kind of game. Right, that would be like Marvel or Darkstalkers. That's it. Now, okay, so that's our first. That's the premise. Okay, that's the premise of the video. All right, that's our first hint. All right. Okay, now let's talk about the rumors. Okay, so you guys know RE Engine, right? Right?
Yes.
You guys know what it stands for? Reach for the Moon, not Resident Evil. You guys know this?
That's a weird acronym you got there.
Hey, I didn't make it. Capcom did. All right.
All right.
Okay. Now, are you guys aware that in every single game that uses that engine, they reuse assets up the ass? Yes. You guys are aware?
Devil May Cry 5.
Devil May Cry 5 has Resident Evil assets and vice versa, and it's crazy. They reuse assets everywhere. And that's no different. Now, this is with that premise. Here's the crazy thing. You guys heard of this thing called Project Resistance? It's that Resident Evil game that Capcom tried to sell and completely bombed on YouTube, and they're like, guys, it was always part of Resident Evil 3. It's for free. We're doing it
with sweat dropping from the brow.
Guys, it was always intended to be part of the game. Come on, look at the value. And then the game has more DLC than Resident Evil 3. Seriously, Carlos has costumes in Resistance. He doesn't even have costumes. Okay, that's a whole other video. Okay. Anyways, in Project Resistance, if you guys haven't played the game, I'm not surprised if you haven't, okay? There is a part in the game where there's like an amusement park area or whatever. And in this amusement park area, there's a ton of Darkstalker references, hints, and weird things that are rendered in the engine, okay? And one of those main things is Victor. So there's parts of Victor. You guys don't know Victor, he's the Frankenstein dude from Darkstalker, okay? And he is modeled. There's a dude that actually made a video of this. And I'll link you guys the video. It's in the video description, okay, who goes through this in maybe a little too much detail. But he goes through it. And he explains that, like, look, you're assembling this Victor thing, and the detail on him is so good. And it's so much work for just a little cameo Easter egg that it's suspicious. Because we know that they reuse the assets, and it's very possible that Capcom has taken some assets out of some Darkstalkers project and put it into here. Because if you look at it, it looks really nice. I don't know if you guys seen the video, but it's Victor. Then on top of that, and this is like a huge model, guys. It's not like some small little... Well, there is actually a little action figure of him, but we're talking about a giant, full-blown size model. And then on top of that,
there's an action figure, there's a small flyer, and then there's actual like
in incredible detail. Okay.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there's also a whole bunch of Darkstalker posters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And flyers and other stuff that shows Morgan on it, and a whole bunch of Darkstalker stuff. And then it gets a little crazy. There's even like a silhouette that could be Dimitri, and just, you know what I mean, Darkstalkers, get it, RE engine, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, that's not enough. It's not even worth making a video talking about that, but it goes further than that, okay? Then, randomly in this magazine, I don't know what the hell the magazine's called, but there's like a little interview with some of the character designers in Street Fighter V, and they outright said, and this is like they're talking about secrets, right? And they outright said that Fang, you know Fang, number 2, Street Fighter V, Fang, was actually intended to be a Darkstalker character from a canceled Darkstalkers project. And actually, let me read the translation of what he said. He says, the secret of secrets is that Fang's concept was actually of a character named, and then he blanked it out what the character's name is, in the aborted new vampire. Okay. Now that confirms 100% that Capcom was working on a Darkstalkers game. Now let's rewind. Let's go back in time. We use the time stone. Okay? Remember that weird trailer that pissed everybody off that says Darkstalkers is not dead? And then we found out it actually was?
I was there for that trailer, Vesper. All right, they showed it at New York Comic-Con. All right, this was back when they were also hyping up like Ultimate Marvel. All right, they had both Street Fighter 3 Online Edition and Darkstalkers Resurrection. They were promoting both games.
Yes.
And at the time, one of those games we didn't know was Darkstalkers Resurrection, but it was a trailer, and it showed like this amazing like CG cutscene of Dimitri in this like castle.
Is it really that amazing?
It looked amazing, at least. Like, my point is that it showed that trailer, and then at the end it said Darkstalkers are not dead, and I'm like, oh snap! Like we all
lessons we learned. Yeah, I get it. Okay,
and then it was.
And then nothing happened.
And then nothing happened. Right. But so this is what happened. This is what I think happened. Okay, I think that they really were intending to release a new Darkstalkers game. I'm not saying full AAA like crazy, but I think they were, and that's when they had Fang's design. Okay, but something happened. Either they realized the RE engine was God when they saw it, and they're like, you know, let's redo this. Let's make this a AAA game, and let's use this engine. And then they're working on it, and we're seeing some of those assets as a hint. Okay, that's the tinfoil hat craziness.
I will say, I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you alluding that they were working on this game since they had made that trailer?
Yep. I do think that they did cancel it, but they still have their assets and they still have their ideas, and I think they restarted the project basically.
Well, the other reason too, right? Like, is remember that they had also released Darkstalkers Resurrection in order to test whether or not there was actual interest in the Darkstalkers IP, right?
And I talked about how stupid that was.
It's very stupid.
Let's see how many people purchase Halo 1 to see if they want to buy Halo 4. That doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Okay.
But that also shows that's also a reason as to why the game potentially got canceled.
So they say.
Yeah.
So they say. Now,
I mean, yeah, because the sales of Darkstalkers Resurrection weren't, impressive to say the least. I mean, it's already like a very niche.
It is
franchise.
I mean, I got the poster in the back
for a niche genre. I mean, we're fans, right? I mean, I'm used to fighting games. But like, who else is? Especially a game like that like runs super fast and super hard. I don't know, man.
Oh yeah,
they'll dumb it down. They'll definitely dumb it down. They'll make it more accessible. Sorry, I gotta use the correct term. Make it more.
I have a huge wish list.
Just as deep.
I have a huge wish list for that, so we'll go over to that later. Yes.
Okay, so before we get into that, I'll just say one last thing. So the current tinfoil hat theory, all right, and this is me personally, I'm not speaking for you guys, is that Capcom is going to use Darkstalkers as a scapegoat to see if it's possible to have a fighting game using the RE engine as a scapegoat for Street Fighter 6. All right, they're going to see how they can pull it off and then use that for something to just kill time with as they're working on Street Fighter 6 in the future, whenever they're going to release it in 24 or 25, right? That's the current tinfoil hat theory. But I think it's going to get more complicated now that the Unreal 5 engine has been announced, but that's a whole other video. So, with that being said, the first question I have for you guys is, what kind of character was Fang supposed to be in Darkstalkers? Like, what do you guys think he was supposed to be? Well, because he's got the Halloween costume, right?
I feel like the what's like the design of the character is definitely very reminiscent of Darkstalkers in the sense that a lot of characters in Darkstalkers, even though they're supposed to be monsters and creepy and evil and whatever, they're also kind of silly. Like let's not forget that Victor grabs you with his butt.
Mm-hmm.
With 2 different grabs, by the way.
Baby Hood is
So,
like she's smoking, and it's all like folklore and urban legend stuff and that kind of stuff. It's
people get cut in half and make silly faces,
Right.
a la Street Fighter 4.
Right.
But yeah, so like Fang totally makes sense in that
yeah.
scene, I guess.
Yeah.
And he could have been, I don't know, he could have been a lot of things. He does have that Mad Doctor kind of style to him, I guess. So
Or
maybe he
could
could
have
have
been a
been
vampire as well. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been, I don't know, like I'm not sure if Dr. von Gerdenheim, Victor's father, quote unquote, ever showed up, but he could have been him, or maybe
Mhm.
Yeah, it could have been a
really,
completely different character in terms of design too, right? I'm not saying that it would be very much different, but like, mechanically speaking, if we were to take the character and what Fong does, imagine that could be applied. I could have imagined that could be applied to other characters too, or other like design aspects or choices. It doesn't necessarily had to have looked like Fong or had any true semblance, but based on, I mean, from my impressions of the character, he is wacky and stuff, and I do think that even if it wasn't like a Fong-esque design like what we know now, it was definitely a character down the road that was going to be,
Right.
interesting for Darkstalkers.
Okay. Now let's talk about Darkstalkers as a new fighting game. I'm sure Mir has a lot to say. Sonic's a fan. All I care about is the RE engine, so I've already said my piece. You guys go ahead.
Well, I will say something then. I've been trying to learn a little bit of Darkstalkers on and off. I'm not saying that I've been dedicating like all my life to it, but I've been trying. Yeah, VSAT. Indeed. But because there's a bunch of people that are playing it, so I figured I'd join in on the fun. But like the first thing that I have noticed is that first of all, I picked probably one of the most difficult characters to start off with, so that's on me.
That's awesome.
That's on me.
Who?
But Bishamon.
Okay, got you.
But
links
I can see. Yes, like the links are the least of my problems, to be honest, because they're all like pretty lenient. Like there's 3 frames and stuff, so you can get them down. But you notice immediately that the game is on a very old engine. It's very reminiscent of the Alpha and Street Fighter 2 engine. So there's a lot of things that are just not very modern that come with it, and they could easily be ironed out and made, like less, not obscure, but in general, they're just hurdles that you have to get past to appreciate the game. Like, to give you an example, if you press a button during your pre-jump frames, nothing comes out, so doing air QRs is a little bit tricky. Another example is that there's no input shortcuts at all, so you cannot do crouching DPs. To do half sickle back, you cannot do it from, half sickle forward. Well, I mean, half sickle back too. You cannot do it from crouching. So, like, for example, what you were about to say, Sonny?
Well, I'm saying I was gonna add another thing. There's the render bonus in the game too. That's another thing as well.
Oh yes, it's when you do certain lights in a row, you get additional frame advantage because the recovery gets canceled out. It's a really weird thing. I don't even know if it's a glitch or if it's intended. But like there are some combos that are just hard on, like arbitrarily hard, basically. Like crouching medium punch into half circle forward. And EX2 punches, and like to do that you have to do it so fast, and you have to hit back in all the directions, otherwise it doesn't come out. and then like if you press the 2 punches too early, then you get the negative edge of the medium, the medium punch that you press. So it's like I feel like those things could be easily fixed to make the game more modern, but at the same time you could keep the execution requirement that is known of Darkstalkers, because Darkstalkers runs really fast because it runs on Turbo 3 by tournament standard, which is extremely fast. It runs at I don't know how many frames a second because of that.
Almost as fast as Marvel 2.
Almost as I mean, remember that this game gave a lot of ideas for Marvel, like the whole Magic series thing.
Yeah, the Magic series, yeah.
But so I feel like if you just remove some of this like boomer execution requirements,
Oh, dude, they're
you
gonna
could
make it accessible for sure, especially if they want it to be an
y-
esport. If that's the case.
like, but that's the thing, right? I feel like the game itself is in a decent spot because you could make it the more technical game, right? Like you have Street Fighter, that's the main series, and you have simplified it to the point where everyone can play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the game where inputs are easier, it's slowed down,
Okay.
the more calculated game. And then you have Darkstalkers, which is your I think it's a vampire calling me 1 second.
Okay. You like? I mean, Darkstalkers is hardcore, right, Sonic?
Yeah, Darkstalkers. Well, VSAV is a very like execution heavy game, and there's also a lot of things about Vampire Savior that's annoying as well. Like characters like Sasquatch, for instance, with instant overheads.
I love Sasquatch.
I hate that.
Okay,
You like
this is the thing about
Sasquatch? What did I
Darkstalkers.
come back to?
No, but what I'm saying is that like the game itself has a lot of things in terms of like I mean the balancing and stuff can be ironed out for the new game,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of like crazy stuff in that game in terms of like the cheap stuff regarding like overheads and Nakaris with his setups and everything, like the fact that meter is the way it is, and when I play Lilith, for instance, I gotta input demon for every movement option possible.
Yeah, forgot
right?
about that.
Like, things like that, right? Like I feel as though they're gonna make it a little bit easier for people to come in and play it, obviously, but they don't have to neuter certain concepts or aspects of the game that made Darkstalkers what it is. And in terms of like a design aspect, which and there's another thing I kind of like about the game too. If they're using the RE engine for it, I think that's going to be great considering how vivid everything is for that game visually. Like with Jeddah, for instance, like think about Darkstalkers. It's this creepy game. It's not super creepy, but it's like it's this silly game, but it's also got this creepy undertone to it. Like Jeddah's literally like ripping out blood and stuff for his jumping heavy.
They'll change it into
right?
purple goo.
Purple goo. They did that for Marvel.
Dude, RE engine, dude, they're changing the purple goo. Unless you want this game to be straight up rated.
I mean, remember Lord Raptor literally disassembles himself and stabs you with his rib.
Yes.
Things like that,
Mortal Kombat has proved that like no one cares. It's like the highest selling fighting game. No one cares. So,
but it's not that I'm just saying that I hope they continue to preserve that style too.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's a very distinct style for Darkstalkers.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's
the
very
interesting
hardcore.
part about that is that the RE engine, especially if they're gonna use it, is that it's for now it's being used for a very mature games, if we will, right? Like they're serious games, right? So I wonder how they're gonna be able to blend in that silliness of Darkstalkers into.
That's why it's a good scapegoat for Street Fighter 6, for them to try.
Yeah,
especially if they already had a project plan, right? Assuming. But this is the thing about Darkstalkers too. Like we're talking about a lot about it from the gameplay point of view, the mechanics and that. But one thing, even though like Darkstalkers is a niche, of course, I think the strongest thing about Darkstalkers is the strength of their character design is so good that even people that have no idea who these characters are will already relate and will like them. Everyone knows what a vampire is, right? Everyone knows what a Sasquatch is, and you see these characters, you automatically know, like, you can relate to it somehow. You see, like, Frankenstein or a werewolf, etc., right? And it doesn't matter what country you live in, and when you see that, like, compared to other fighting games, I don't know. I'm just gonna pick a random fighting game. I'm not bullying anyone, but let's just say Grand Blue, for example, right? Grand Blue. I don't know anything about Grand Blue, and when I see these characters and I look at them, they just all look the same. Okay, they all have the same. Like hairstyle and okay. Don't worry, Sonic. I'm not bullying any game. I'm just saying, bro. But when you see a game like Darkstalkers, man, and you even have no idea what that game is about, and you see a character like Morgan, right? No, Sonic, come back, man. Come on, bro. I didn't mean it like that, man. I didn't mean it like that. Anyways, Miri, you know what I'm talking about, right? And if they have an RE engine with that, man, you'll be a Darkstalkers fan. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's another thing that is, I wouldn't say concerning, but again, it goes back to what I was saying. Like, how are they gonna make the Darkstalk? Because I feel like one of the reasons why Darkstalkers character designs are so iconic is because they're cartoonish. at the same time, like trying to be monsters, right? So like in the RE engine, which is a more realistic style, that might be harder to execute, right? To pull off.
Yeah.
But then again, I've never seen them try to do anything cartoonish with the RE engine yet. So like this could be the first big thing that they do.
Right.
I mean, again, as far as character designs go, and what you were mentioning before, I feel like like a lot of them are like really old character designs too. Like even if you haven't played the game, they've been around for forever. Like you played CVS2 when you were a kid, you probably seen Morrigan at some point, right?
Right.
The same sprite for Morrigan.
Yeah, and once again, guys, the reason we're talking about the RE engine so much because once again, the reuse assets and the hint of Victor in the RE engine, right? That's why we're mainly thinking about that. And it's possible too, Mir, that they might just literally skip the silly characters, because I highly doubt they're gonna have every single character return.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but especially Sasquatch, I can wait until he's not in the game.
Why? I'm gonna main Sasquatch. That character's godlike.
That character
isn't he from Canada?
God, that character is so annoying to fight. I think that character is going to be crazy if he was in this game in some way. They're gonna end up having to nerf one of his like 8 over.
I feel like the problem is not too much the fact that Sasquatch is strong, because he is. He's also really easy, by the way.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, he's just compared to the rest of the cast, which is so unique and like peculiar in their own right. Sasquatch is just a Sasquatch. Like,
what do you mean, just a Sasquatch?
Like you put no. This is what I mean, all right? Because you was talking crap about Grand Blue versus.
No, I wasn't. I was just using an example.
I'm gonna tell you exactly what Sasquatch is, all right? Sasquatch, in comparison to a nunchuck wielding kung fu master werewolf, all right? That's how bland Sasquatch is.
I didn't know he used nunchucks, and Mir told me that. I didn't believe him, and he actually had to show me a video. That's a true story. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's got nunchucks. He's got nunchucks. I didn't believe
you're excused. You're excused for not knowing, because Million Flickers is worthless, and that Dragon Cannon Super is also worthless. Like they never used it.
But they gave it to Blanca though. It's his
he transforms from a kung fu master into a werewolf. What are you talking about?
I know that's pretty wild, bro. I mean, Darkstalkers is pretty wild. So I don't know.
Yeah. But like, just to go back to what I was saying just briefly before I got interrupted by the phone.
Yeah.
Darkstalkers could be their fast-paced game. When Street Fighter is the more like the slower, more calculated game, then you have basically your equivalent to Marvel.
It's the Marvel,
and it's Darkstalkers, right? Because it's fast and a little bit wackier, maybe, right? Especially if they keep some of the like the more extreme stuff that game had. And it could be a reason to make a game that is, I mean, even though they want to make it esports, probably it would be a big investment in money. It would be still an excuse to make it, I don't want to say a little less balanced, but there'd be more daring with what the characters can do.
There's obviously shoes to fill since Marvel is dead, basically.
Yeah.
Shoes to fill, I mean, they should remake Marvel 2 with RE engine.
With RE engine, like,
they only need to make 8 characters.
He loves reaching for the moon mirror, all right?
They only need like 8 characters. Like, come on.
He loves reaching for the moon. I understand. Like, having a remake for Darkstalkers is good. It's gonna be great. Like, I think it's possible. And even without the Resident Evil resistance theory too, like, also consider like with Street Fighter 5, most of the costumes you got for the characters are all from Darkstalkers.
A lot of them.
Like, we had Chun-Li as Morgan, we had Felicia as Minot, we had Dimitri as Ed, right? We had a whole bunch of Darkstalker characters represented within Street Fighter as well. So, I do think that there is an interest for it. And we know that Ono, right, wanted to develop a new Darkstalkers game too. He had interest for that.
Right.
So I'm very certain that, it's still something that Capcom cares about as an IP, and I'm sure that they're going to do something in the near future for that game. Whatever it may be, I hope it's going to be a new game, because I feel like that game, it has that flair of character that attracts people to it. And the thing is, we've seen Morgan before, we've seen a lot of other characters like Felicia, all the popular characters we know from Darkstalkers. They've been in other crossover titles or other games. Even back in the day, they were also in crossover fighters such as even stuff like Gem Fighter and things like that. So those games showcase the wackiness and belovedness of those characters, and I'm sure that people will enjoy a new Darkstalkers game, in general, be it design or even mechanics. And I agree with Mir too. It would be great if this game had like, some level of expression to it to kind of like freshen things up with the way fighting games are.
Yeah, don't make it exactly like Street Fighter 5.
Yeah,
bad
like
idea.
make it at. I'm not saying to make it exactly like VSAT, because clearly there are things that are wrong with that game in terms of time that we have, like the time distance and how things were in the past. Like I don't want to do double Tiger Knee Soul Flash with Lilith and then trying to link DP after and then do all this crazy. I can't do at least
Turbo 420.
Yeah, exactly. Turbo 420 no less. Like it's hard, dude. So I understand that you want to make it easier and more accessible for players, but like also keep some of the things that make Vampire Savior what Vampire Savior is. Don't eliminate the core thing of what Darkstalkers is about mechanically, because I feel once you do that, then again you get this case of identity being lost, and I don't want that happening. I don't want the lack of expression being removed from that game and ending up making the game something that it's not.
I feel like a good way to approach this is, exactly how Marvel did it, and even Marvel Infinite, right? Is that the game is not necessarily difficult to play on an execution level, in the sense that the way the game works, right? Marvel works is that the longer the combo goes, the higher the his-stun deterioration becomes, right? So it becomes harder and harder to extend the combo. So what that means is that you can do a pretty easy combo with not too much effort, and that's something that can get the person, in the game, right? Like it's like, oh, I can do this, and this is the easy way in. But then if you really want to do the flashy stuff, the really difficult stuff, it actually becomes kind of challenging, because again, instant deterioration kicks in, and so it becomes harder and harder to continue the combo. So you have both an option that is easy for someone that wants to approach the game or maybe play it more casually, and it still looks flashy because by nature of Marvel and other hyper fighters like this, the combos are full of components and they're full of special moves and they got supers and stuff, right? So it look cool.
Yeah, that's what new players care about the most. Is just the cool stuff. Yeah.
And then if you really want, like if you're investing into the game, you can do the really hard combo, which is optimized damage wise, and it also looks even cooler because of course it's longer and like full of stuff that is difficult. And like you have what Sonic was saying, you have expression. And I think Darkstalkers at a very basic level, like the original game B7, did that to an extent with some characters where, you can always do the magic string, your basic magic string, to get a knockdown and damage. But, you might have some link that you can do from a dash. You can do dash links. You can do like maybe a special move into another special move, right? You can do a cancel, whatever, right? Yeah, exactly. Like there are all these things that can add onto the expression and at the same time the difficulty. I just feel like the original Darkstalkers, it's like base level, do magic string really easy, but not too optimal for like certain playstyles. Although there are characters that just do that. So like you have those characters if you want them. And then there's like super mega hard ultra link combos with like 75 different complicated inputs that don't exist since 1995. Like there ought to be a middle ground, right? And that's what I hope they try to achieve. Maybe they like learn some lessons from Marvel, like following the same style of you have an easy combo that is simple to execute. As you add pieces to it, it becomes harder and harder, and that rewards mastery. And at the same time, it makes it also fun to lab these games, because to be honest, I think I mentioned it before, but to sit in the lab and practicing like a one-frame link, which admittedly Darkstalkers doesn't have many of those, but like practicing a hard link is not really fun. Like it's not very interesting, because sometimes it's very basic. Like maybe the difficult link is literally the second hit of the combo. And but it's stuff that you gotta do, right? So that kind of detracts from the fun. I feel like using this scalar difficulty system where it becomes harder and harder as you go, then at least you get to enjoy yourself for the first part of the combo. Then when it gets to the hard part, that's when it starts getting difficult and you have to put in dependent practice. So like labbing becomes a little bit more enjoyable because you're actually doing stuff and you have a visual, feedback. You have visual feedback of what you're doing.
I do think though that like stuff like one frame links and those things should be accessible still, right? Like I think that stuff,
Mhm.
while some people may find it boring, other people may feel, because we all, in fighting games, you're trying to aim for the most optimal thing possible too,
Right.
if you're trying to play
Mhm.
at that highest level. And so naturally you're gonna have the people that spend the time to lab and go it out. Like for me personally, I spend 10 plus hours trying to find setups and links and all this extra stuff, because that's what I want to do, because I want to be the strongest. But then there's some people that may not be thinking that way. They probably just want to hit some buttons and go ham. So long as you give people options to be able to do, whatever they want, right? If they want to look cool, new players only want to really look cool. They want to like
Mhm.
do cool things. They want to see their character go ham. They want to see maybe Morgan do something cool into Darkness Illusion or whatever the heck. And as me, I'm like, well, I want to do this combo that set plays you and then goes into Darkness Illusion and gets like 80% damage or whatever, which I know isn't great because, Morgan is not one of the best characters to be set. But the point I'm trying to make is that people that want to go for the hard stuff will go for the hard stuff. The people that want to just
Yeah.
hit buttons and get the easy stuff are going to go for the easy stuff. You have to
Mhm.
give options for both kinds of players, and that allows for majority of players to actually enter your game.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
And me and Mary talked about this in depth. Like focusing on the fun of the game is absolute priority, And with the
Yep.
Darkstalkers and all these crazy characters from all these different lores, there's endless potential for content and story and everything. Like Capcom has their work cut out for them on that easily.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, like the only thing I hope, just to like put the nail in the coffin in this, is just that this kind of execution that they decide to add to the game is fun. Like that's all that matters, right? Like it doesn't have to be fun just for the casuals. It has to be fun for everyone. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, if you're a person that really cares and wants to spend 40 hours in the lab trying to figure out all the setups, you'd like it for it to be fun, right? Like if it's just tedious and boring, I mean, it just saps the enjoyment out of the game.
mhm.
So that's all I care about.
So if this is possible, like we're gonna find out real soon what Capcom is up to. Capcom, there's already been an article on Capcom going to go really huge in 21. They have multiple major titles they're going to be released, all using RE engine in 2021, and they're trying to sell like over 25 million copies total for their fiscal year. So we're gonna get a lot of big games. We don't know, like we know 100% one of them is Resident Evil, probably Resident Evil 8.
Yeah.
And then we have stuff like, we don't know if they're doing a new Monster Hunter for next gen, right? But we want to know what's going on in Division B, right, on the fighting game side. And they've been quiet for a long time, and the content for Street Fighter 5 has been very stale, right? Not just because of what's going on in the world, but even before it was getting extremely stale, especially with the season before. So they've been working on something. We're gonna find out real soon. It really depends on pretty much when the Sony conference happens, because the Xbox conference we heard nothing. So the Sony conference, if they announce a bunch of titles, especially third-party titles, we might see what Capcom is up to there. If we don't hear about it, then whatever cons or whatever events that are not canceled, we'd hear about there. And if not, then the absolute latest we'll know what's going on for 21 is Capcom Cup sometime in November. The absolute latest. So hopefully find out soon, man, because I'm really excited for whatever next big Capcom fighting game is coming out, man. Really, I am. So that's our Clown Shoes video, guys. Really would enjoy your comments below on, come on, Vesper, can't be Darkstalkers. I'm waiting for those comments, man.
just to add on to that, like if it's not Darkstalkers, then it could be, the Capcom All Stars game.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
it's gonna be
like if you guys don't wanna believe us, you can believe in something else.
Right. And guys,
and then we have
if you guys are gonna spread around this crazy rumor, right? Don't say it came from me, please. Don't say, did you hear the new Darkstalker game? Vesper told me. Don't say that shit. I don't want this to come back to me. Okay, but if a new Darkstalkers game is announced, I told you so. I told you so. Anyways, yeah.
All of the credit, none of the accountability.
Then I'll take all the credit. Spread the word. All right. All right, let's clock out, guys. Thanks for joining me for this, guys, and we'll keep you posted on any more news or rumors or whatever we hear in the future. All right, peace out. Later.